Hey, good evening. Wixman Ray here. I hope you can hear me okay. I got my air conditioner running. It's a pretty sticky day and pretty warm out there. Um, it is Monday, May 18th, 2026. So we're getting on through May here. And it's 7:53 p.m. Central Time. All right. So starting out west, this is our infrared. Let's see what our one loop looks like. I didn't bring that up just to see if it's too late. Hold on. We'll start with this at least for the west. So out west we got some clouds. Looks like some showery, convective type stuff. Mostly showers out here across Washington, Oregon, Nevada, Idaho. This whole gamut here, all these states. And then we've got a wave, shortwave trough moving through Montana and out through northern Utah, stretching down through here. We got some pockets of showers and rain and some mountain snow. It's still chilly out here, so any precip in the higher elevations will be snow. Um, and that snow will be up in parts of some areas of snow across Wyoming. And I'm not sure what it's doing up in eastern Montana. We'll look. And then underneath that, I've got a lot of low cloud extending down into eastern Colorado into northeast or northwest Kansas. We got a low pressure sitting up here, spinning over South Dakota. It looks like with a rain shield back here. Might be some snow way up north into Canada, but a lot of rain across the Dakotas and northern Minnesota, and then from the southern half of Minnesota, from parts of Wisconsin south through Iowa, Nebraska, northwest Missouri into Kansas. We got a pretty powerful line of thunderstorms. A lot of them are severe. We have a few tornado warnings, especially in northern Missouri, and then we got a complex of storms down here in southwest Oklahoma. I can't remember if those are severe or not. Looks like there might be a few storms down in parts of South Texas, and some real isolated stuff across parts of the South from Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, maybe even a little bit into western Tennessee there. And then this is that system from yesterday, that first wave. So we got some showers and storms running. Well, they start up here in Quebec and Ontario provinces in Canada and kind of run down through Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, a little bit into northern Kentucky, and they may be starting to approach western New York and western Pennsylvania, although I don't think it's raining there yet. And a few thunderstorms across South Florida. They're kind of hard to see with the sun setting. So we'll go to our infrared. Yeah, there's some few showers and storms. They're starting to calm down as it's getting to be close to 9 o'clock out there in Florida. Yeah, so kind of same story I told you here. This is wave number one from the severe storms we had in this same general area last night, and this is wave number two causing severe weather now. And then we got some little weak waves across the south down here into Texas and Oklahoma, and even back here across Arkansas and parts of the south where you got a few thunderstorms. And then there's that wave that I talked about out west there. So several waves, keeping it pretty active across the United States. All right, so we'll go to our surface observations with the radar overlaid. We'll talk about this since this is the most important stuff. Before we talk about the actual thunderstorms, you can see it's 80s, mid to lower 80s ahead of the front, and very humid. Dew points in the upper 60s to low 70s. A little bit cooler back here in Missouri, where it's in the 70s. And then behind the front, much cooler in the 50s and even 40s back into Nebraska and northwest Kansas. Even eastern Colorado's got some 40s back there. So, yeah, and some strong winds too. Looks like it's gusting 30, 40 miles an hour behind the cold front and out ahead of the front. We're seeing the same idea, 30, especially down here, 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts out here in western Oklahoma and west Texas into parts of New Mexico. It looks like it's windy all the way through at least parts of Arizona and New Mexico, gusting up about 30, 40 miles an hour. So pretty windy with this system, with these waves coming through. And then we got pretty much severe warnings lined up across all of Kansas up into northwest Missouri. All severe warnings. We got a couple tornado warnings. It looks like there's one out here, kind of north of Emporia, Kansas, out there in the cornfields, I guess you want to call it. And we got another couple tornado warnings up here in northern Missouri, north of St. Joe, and up into southern Iowa here too. So watch out in those communities out there. Behind it, we got some thunderstorms, nothing severe, but that's back in the cooler air. Some thunderstorms riding up over that colder air. Looks like one severe warning back here. Another tornado warning just south of the Des Moines area, it looks like. Maybe in the southern part of the Des Moines metro area there. A tornado warning and then a severe warning on the northern side of it. So watch out there. A lot of severe storms going on with some possible tornadoes, at least radar indicated. As you go north, you got showers and thunderstorms all the way up to about Minneapolis there. It looks like some of this is even thunderstorms up farther north in the backside of this front. Looks like mostly rain back here, light to moderate rain, maybe some heavier spurts. I guess you can't rule out maybe a clap of thunder in this stuff if the dynamics, since the dynamics are pretty strong. It's definitely cooler too back here in the 40s, some 50s farther south. Looks like upper 30s there in that, what's that station there? Williston, North Dakota. So it's a little chilly there. Got 40s back into Montana with some few showers out there. So you can imagine they're having some mountain snow with any of that showers. Same thing in Wyoming. It's definitely cool out there in the 30s and 40s. So we got some snow, mostly snow going on out there probably. Rain at Cheyenne, they're right at 35. Same thing in Colorado, some mountain snow and some valley rain showers here, and it looks like a few weak showers across northern Nevada and northern Utah. And it's still cool out there too. It's 53 in Salt Lake City. Elko's observations out, but looks like it's near 60 in Elko, or at least in the upper 50s. Definitely cooled down in Vegas, man. Look at that, 75, and it cooled down in Phoenix. So I was a little bit off on those temperatures. I thought it would stay in the 90s down here, but they went down to 85 and 7. And the Central Valley of California is still pretty warm in the 80s out there, but they're starting to see that ridge trying to build back in, and that's why you're seeing 70 in Portland and 65 in Seattle. So kind of across the Pacific Northwest and California, that's where the warmer air still is. Elsewhere, it's influenced by that cold air that came from that last front. So that's about it. Looks like a couple rogue storms there in southwest Oklahoma. I think I mentioned those. Nothing severe. A couple storms out here in Arkansas. They're dying down. A few isolated, widely scattered storms across Mississippi and Alabama. Nothing severe there. Looks like the same thing in Florida. A little bit of activity, but very widely scattered out there. Yeah, and then here's that other front from into northern Kentucky and parts of southern Indiana, southern Illinois, showers and thunderstorms up through Ohio, and then extending up into Canada. Nothing severe there. This stuff looks pretty tame. Got a few rogue storms, very isolated out in Pennsylvania here. Looks like those are kind of weakening too. Pretty warm out on the East Coast, 70s and 80s, 80s in the Mid-Atlantic at 9 o'clock tonight. Still kind of coolish, but the sun's setting out there and it's not 9 o'clock, so in the 50s out there there. But man, look at that. Syracuse is 83. They warmed up really good ahead of that warm front, so this is probably one of the warmest days Syracuse has had all spring. Some 70s and 80s all across this area. Even New York City, it looks like JFK's at 67. They get the influence of the ocean, but LaGuardia is upper 70s, so inland is warmer. So probably 70s. Looks like 84 over at Newark. So depending on where you're at, you'll either have 60s, 70s, or 80s out there in parts of New York City, that part of the world, that part of the country, if you're interested in that area. All right, and the southeast is pretty quiet too down here, 70s, 80s. So that's all I got to say about that. We'll go ahead and get to our model here. So we'll go to our upper level forecast again, since we haven't done this in about, I try to do it every 2 to 3 days just to kind of keep us up to speed on what's going on that's driving this weather pattern. Sorry, got to feed myself my Reese's Pieces. I had a few left over from my movie shirt. I went to a movie last night. I went to the, what's the name of that show? The Duck, not Duck, the Sheep Detectives. That was a pretty cool show. You know, not so much a kid show. I mean, it could be a kid show, but it was more like a murder mystery, but the sheep solve it. So I thought it had a good message behind it. So, and someone took care of the sheep after the sheep herder was. I won't spoil it for you if you're gonna watch it, but yeah. Anyways, I might have spoiled there, but anyways, so looking at tonight here, we got, this is the wave supporting the front across the plains with the severe storms. This is the other front out here across the Ohio Valley, I guess you could call it, into the north, or into the Great Lakes here, where we had those showers and storms, those weaker ones. Got a couple weak waves across the south, kicking off that activity that we saw out here, and the stuff back into Texas, and a little bit of energy out of Florida. And we still have this general trough of low pressure all across the west, with several waves. Looks like we got one here in Utah, Nevada, and that's where we saw that main wave from northern Utah up into Montana, where this shield of clouds and the more pronounced area of rain was at. So we got this wave. So there's a couple waves embedded in the flow there. So we'll just skim through. So this stuff moves. So this is for tomorrow. So this is the remnants of that front. Actually, that's the northern remnants. The actual front will kind of be out here. So that's where you're seeing this vorticity from Illinois, Indiana. So this system, the front will move out here, and you're seeing, but you see it weekends compared to today. There's quite a bit more energy today than yesterday. So that'll move out there. This one here, so tonight through tomorrow, it kind of moves up into the northeast. So there might be a few showers, a pop of thunder up in the northeast, but that really weakens as it kind of traverses. We got kind of a ridge of high pressure building across the southeast part of the U.S. And out near the East Coast, or just off, over the Atlantic there. So that's going to really weaken that system. So we got this as the remnants of the front tomorrow afternoon out through here from Texas, Arkansas, and back up here through the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes. And then you got the main trough supporting that low pressure that moved up into Canada. And this is that wave. So we'll see another wave coming out of the Rockies back here with this energy, a little bit of energy out here over the south. That may enhance the thunderstorms a little bit on the southern end of this cold front down here in Texas and like the Arklatex region, which means, if you're not familiar with Arklatex, that means Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas, Arklatex. So kind of that same area right there that I was talking about. So you got some energy kind of coming up through there out of Mexico, it looks like. Yeah, we still have all this energy across the west, so we'll see some showers out here. But this will be our next weather maker for the plains here, part of the plains anyways, as we go into Wednesday here. So this one kind of moves quickly into Canada. So that front there might be a little lingering effects across the northeast and back down through here, but very weak. But this is that wave that came out of Texas here, so we'll probably see a band of showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday afternoon, evening out, maybe from southern Missouri, maybe even up into this part of the area, the Ohio Valley a little bit, and then back through the parts of the southeast and Tennessee, Kentucky area. More energy coming into Texas, New Mexico, so showers and storms out here. We've got more energy coming down, reinforcing this trough of low pressure across the northern Rockies. And then we get this little system here. So you're going to see a system kind of develop out here on the east side of the Rockies here with this kind of this system up here and this system out here coming out of the west. And you see that kind of advance on Thursday morning out across the central and southern plains. And it's really well defined on the southern plains by Thursday afternoon and evening. So, and then we get this next one. So we're just going to go through Friday here. So just continuous waves coming out of the Rockies. So by Friday, this is going to bring some storms, probably for the northern, maybe even down into Kansas and Nebraska. We'll see how far south, at least into Nebraska here, with this wave coming out on Friday afternoon. And then we got this stuff coming like through Missouri and down through the south here into Texas. So yeah, just kind of a continuous stormy pattern. So I'll look at that from the surface now. I hope you understood what was going on. The bottom line is that today will be the last real big severe weather day, but there's going to be other waves coming out with at least marginal to slight risk. Tomorrow there'll be a slight risk, but with this system as it weakens, as it goes east. But the other systems, they're not quite as vigorous, but there's still something to bear watching. So we'll go through this there real quick. So this is for the rest of tonight. You should see these showers and thunderstorms that were out here and kind of press south and east into farther into Kansas, into Missouri and eastern Iowa, up into parts of Wisconsin and Illinois. This stuff will still be ongoing back here, but that'll slowly start dying out as we go through tomorrow morning. See, there'll be some maybe scattered stuff in the morning, isolated and scattered remaining. Even back here, this stuff's going to die down over, towards the morning along this cold front. But this stuff out here, as it encounters the ridge, is really going to weaken. And this just becomes like one front. So this is by tomorrow evening. So you see the low pressure way up into Canada now, with the cold front trailing down through Michigan, the Great Lakes here into Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, Missouri, and all the way down into Texas here. And you can see that enhanced area I talked about earlier on the upper level chart. It'll probably be a more enhanced, more activity here for Oklahoma and Texas and Arkansas, those areas. And as you go through the night, yeah, see. So this will be along the front here. So severe action pretty much from Michigan all the way south into Texas along this cold front. At least, isolated, scattered severe storms. So, and then one thing I failed to mention, yes, it looks like there'll kind of be a warm front, and that's kind of the remnants of that first system. You'll see across the northeast, like I was saying, there'll be some showers, maybe a couple thunderstorms back here through the northeast, kind of extending off to the east of this cold front. I think it's going to attach to this and kind of act and look like a warm front, really. And that's really what it will become. And otherwise, you see, this is a big high pressure out over, they call that the Bermuda High. Maybe displaced a little bit southward, but yeah. Looks like southern Florida. We'll see some, at least Florida, we'll see a few scattered storms. Looks like some stuff out in the Rockies, a wave up here coming out of Canada again, and that little bit of activity across there. Looks like another wave in Colorado there for Tuesday night. Yeah, so that's Tuesday. As we go through Wednesday, so this front So by Wednesday afternoon, well, during the day it'll bring showers, maybe a few thunderstorms across the Northeast, but it looks like by the evening and night it moves out. But you still have the cold front kind of trailing through the mid-Atlantic and down through the south here. Um, but it really weakens, so um, probably nothing severe. But and like I said, that little wave, it'll be a little more concentrated down here across Louisiana and Mississippi, East Texas, Arkansas, this part of the country. And then you see that next wave I was talking about coming out of the southwest, combining with that little thing we saw coming out of Colorado here. So I think we'll see showers and thunderstorms all across the eastern Colorado, eastern New Mexico, western Kansas. You get the picture. West Texas all the way through here, maybe a little bit into Nebraska, and then we got this next system up here. This is the one I said that would come out here on Thursday. We already see the hints of that. But this stuff could see some severe, and I think they have a marginal risk. We'll take a look at that for our Storm Prediction Center outlooks. So as you go through the day, you see this system kind of presses across. So Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, showers and thunderstorms, maybe moving up into Iowa a little bit. And here's that next system. So it kind of trails back in the Rockies still here. So looks like it comes, yeah, it comes out into the northern plains on, oh, this is Thursday. I was thinking Friday. So yeah, this area, this is that next northern system. So showers and storms across the Dakotas probably. We still have some activity here from the mid-Atlantic back through the southeast here along that old frontal boundary. It looks like it gets, with that energy coming out of Texas and moving across over here, it looks like the ridge gets weakens a little bit, and we're seeing showers and storms out across through here on Thursday. And then you should go into Friday. Here's that system. Got a little weak low pressure that develops out in Nebraska, South Dakota, with some showers and storms and rain north of it. This is not quite as strong as these last ones. And then you see that piece of energy from the south. So the storms may be a little more organized down here in southern Kansas and Oklahoma. And then we still see this lingering stuff back here with all these waves that were coming up out of Texas and Mexico there. So, yeah. So nothing real well defined for a definite severe area, but these are areas. These two areas are areas to monitor at least through Friday. So yeah. So kind of a complicated, busy forecast. We've got several waves coming across. And with that pattern, it really doesn't significantly warm up. You don't have the ridge building over the west, so the temperatures will moderate a little bit out west, but they're not going to stay in the 50s for most of the areas, but they're going to warm back up into the 60s and 70s as we go through the week out west. The rest of the country is really going to cool off, except for like the southeast where that ridge was kind of holding strong. So, and I'll show you the temperatures after the convective outlook, if I can get through this here without eating all my M&Ms or my Reese's Pieces. So this looks almost exactly like yesterday. Well, they just updated it. They had a red out here, the level 4 earlier, but so looks like Kansas City, Des Moines, down towards Wichita, this area. So some severe for later tonight. Still have a pretty good tornado threat, out there. Pretty good wind threat and hail threat. So watch out for severe out there. Could be a rough and tumble night for some areas. Last night we had storms come through. I don't know, what was it, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning? And it rained good for, I don't know, a good hour or two after that. After the storms passed through. We got a lot of rain, but made it very sticky today. Nothing severe that I noticed, but it did wake me up. So as for the rest of tonight, tomorrow, this almost looks like a copy and paste of yesterday. So like I said, from Michigan, it looks like maybe they extended a little farther to the east for parts of the Northeast. That would be late in the night, tomorrow night. This would be late Tuesday night out here in the Northeast. But So all along this cold front, there's a chance of some severe storms. Tornado risk looks kind of low, maybe out in Texas and a little bit up here in the northeast and Great Lakes, but it's like wind and hail's your winds, especially winds, but hail, especially across Texas there. So not quite as vigorous tomorrow. Then Wednesday, they kind of calm down. There's that next system coming out of that I was talking about, coming out of the southwest here. So a marginal risk. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes a little farther north, but that was just me. But maybe there's not. Maybe the shear is not quite as strong up here. I haven't really looked real closely. And then it looks like they got a little bit up here where there's maybe a little stronger dynamics. So that's possible. Parts of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. This is for Wednesday. So yeah, watch out for that. After that, they don't really have anything drawn up. And like I said, it doesn't look like anything definite. But along those waves, as they come out into the plains um, and the south there, into Texas and parts of the south, just watch out. They could spawn up a couple, severe storms here and there. But don't look like any wide outbreak like tonight and yesterday were. So that's about it for that. I'll go through the temperatures here. Don't even mind this. Look down here. These, I don't know why this thing says Monday, but so these are for Tuesday. So it says daytime high temperature ending Tuesday at 7 p.m. So this is your high temperature for Tuesday. So that's why I'm ignoring that. I'm telling you to ignore it. So you see kind of a general cooling trend, like east of the Great Lakes, down all the way to Oklahoma and northern Arizona, all through the west here, but mostly 60s and 70s, some cooler, out in the Rockies, definitely colder, and then 40s and 50s up here for the coldest areas. So very nice day across the plains. Downright chilly up here in the northern plains and up into Minnesota and places like that, Wisconsin. But you get, east of that front, there's still going to be 80s and 90s all across this area. You can see, looks like they're saying 90, low 90s and 80s back here. So not as hot as they have been. So, but that's probably about their average temperature, getting close to it for this time of year. So this is for Wednesday. So that front cools it down for a good part of the east here. Got some, man, look at that, 50s and 60s even across Nebraska. But man, where I'm at, it's going to be in the 60s for at least 2 or 3 days. I'm going to be loving it. This is my favorite kind of weather. No humidity, but this whole part of the country definitely cool for 20th of May here. So yeah, still warm across the southeast and mid-Atlantic. As we go on to that's Wednesday. So for Thursday, that front will cool off the mid-Atlantic. So like I said, the northern half of the U.S. is cool. Even down into Texas, you're seeing 70s, so it dips down a little bit in here. You can see the warm air still kind of holds on, 80s and 90s across the southeast here. Still a little warm back here. Nothing too crazy hot though. That's Thursday, and then we'll just go to Friday. Slowly starts warming up out here, but I mean north of these areas from Oklahoma to North Carolina, you're looking at 60s and 70s, with some other pockets a little bit colder. Really nice day for the rest of the week across parts of the United States. We don't have any heat waves really. I mean, the warmest air is going to be across the southeast. It don't look like our front's ever going to kind of get down here, at least not through this week. We'll see what next week brings, but we're getting closer and closer to June and summer, and so, boy, if we could keep this kind of weather into like June, that would be awesome, man. Keep that humidity out, and even for the South, if they stay in the 80s, they would love it. Because I'm sure they're not looking forward to their day after day of 92 and 73. Like, I remember when I lived in southern Alabama back in the 90s, you could like do 92 for the high and 72 for the low almost every day. And it wouldn't vary much, maybe by a degree or two, but with no air mass change, it was, you know, or with any big high pressure building in over it. It just was day after day of the same weather. I just remember that for weeks on end, it would be the same temperature in the night, the same, or in the evening, same temperature in the morning. So if you were 10 degrees cooler than that, like say in the 80s, all the way through June, you'd be loving it down there across the south. And you're like, hey, we're getting a cool beginning to summer. So, anyways, but that's my dream world of cooler weather. See, I hate the snow, but I don't like the extreme heat either. Because I've been in both. I've been out to Vegas when it's been 120. I've been out to Vegas at 10 o'clock at night and it's still over 100 degrees. That is miserable. I mean, you got to go inside. There's even at night it's just too hot because there's so much pavement and there's just nothing to cool it off out there. Same thing with St. George, Utah. I've been out there when it's been 120 degrees, just brutal in the summer. And then, I've been in Louisiana when it was like 98, like in Shreveport with, almost 98% humidity. That's, I don't know what's worse, 120 out west or, baking in the, at the surface of the sun or sweating to death in 98 degree and it feels like 110 or something in the south. So they're both miserable. So I don't like extreme heat and I don't like extreme cold and snow. So that's why I'm a 60s and 70s. That's why I could totally live on a beach in Hawaii. Okay, so that's my ramble for the day. I appreciate you all. We've gone 31 minutes. So um, I hope you're having a great beginning to your work week or retirement week or vacation week or whatever kind of week you're going to call it this week. So I'm calling it my semi-retired week because I'm semi-retired, even though I do have to work a little bit of a part-time job to make ends meet since I'm paying $4.20 a gallon for this BS, that's going on. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not happy. I'm not happy that I have to pay that much for gas because a part of my part-time job is gas. So Trump needs to get his shit together and get this straight. And there you go. Sorry if any kids are watching. Um, I'm not going to cut that out, but that's how I feel. All right. I appreciate y'all. Please like and subscribe. And I'm trying to teach you about the weather, and I'll try to watch my voice. I get a little heated when it comes to gas prices and what's going on in the world. I'm not happy with what Trump's done. Um, I don't agree with everything he does. I think he does good things and bad things. So, just like any other president. So, this is Wixman Ray out.